Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is, I don't know where my phone is. It's Tuesday, I believe, the 3rd of June. Let's go with that. I'm only off by a day if it's either the 4th or the 3rd. But I'm pretty sure it's the 3rd. Anyways, any old two. So, a bunch of things to get to as always. I just want to kind of clear my toolbar off if I can, and just start off fresh tomorrow. But I don't, because there's always stuff. Um, I just saw something hilarious from Fetterman. I'm going to cover that next. The big stories are, we have two military paths towards World War III. We have economic paths towards World War III. We have, all these various pathways, whatever. Like, it's like thinking this thing's going to be it, right? But the Ukraine bombed the crap out of Russia, droned the crap out of Russia, which we'll get into, which I meant to cover yesterday, but I didn't have time. And there's another, all these videos are leaking from Gaza, and people are like, that's going to be whatever. I'm going to show you the Fetterman thing because I just watched it. It's so funny. I want to do that first, but let's get into this. So this is the AI. My wife was telling me about this. All these kids are using just AI for school.
75 grand right out of high school and no college debt. And you're thinking, what's the job? Athlete? Social influencer? Nope. Try welder. That's the salary commanded by an 18-year-old who will soon graduate from Philadelphia's Catholic Father Judge High School. And he's not alone. All 24 graduating seniors in the school's welding program have job offers of $50,000 and above. Aiden Holland is the student with the $75,000 commitment from a defense contractor in New Jersey. They want him to be a nuclear submarine welder. And these stories are not one-offs. They're part of a reevaluation that Randy Weingarten, the head of the American Federation of Teachers, calls shedding the misperception some may still have of technical education as a dumping ground for students headed for low-skill, low-paying jobs. This is the new thinking.
So this is about the white-collar jobs that are being lost to AI. But this is even more than this. Is about kids are just using AI to do all their homework, so they're not getting education, right? Like you're going to have,
The world of education is in a state of flux. The 3 R's now stand for rework, revamp, and review. And this thinking applies to both high school and college. And I don't mean the College of Cardinals. It's been long overdue and now accelerated by the role of artificial intelligence. A poll of 1,000 college students showed that almost 90% of them used the chatbot to help with homework. And that was taken right after the launch of ChatGPT. More recent research shows widespread use of AI in both high schools and colleges. The question today is not are students getting help from AI, but are they doing any of the work themselves? Thus, we get the story of Chungin Roy Lee, as told by New York Magazine. A computer science major at Columbia, he was quite open about how he exploited OpenAI. He used it on almost all assignments. He said 80% of his essays were AI generated. Quote, I put on the finishing touches, I just insert 20% of my humanity. The essays might have been 20% Lee's, but he got 100% of the grade, and that was okay with him.
AI is, you guys have seen me use it here, and I'm just dabbling. I'm always kind of, I didn't get a cell phone till 2013 or 14. I purchased my first cell phone in 2016, right, or whatever it was, 16. Somebody gave me one before that, but I had used them a little bit, and so, I'm not big on being the first to technology, and whatever. It took me a long time to get on the internet and have a computer too. I was late to the party with that. But I've been using it here. You guys have seen me use it, and I use it when my wife are walking around the pasture. We're talking about something. I'll just ask ChatGPT, and I have a different, as a truther, as somebody who doesn't believe in the official story, look at whatever ChatGPT says, and has to run it through my own personal lens of a truther, and then do my own, ask specific questions, and then, But what's going to happen is they can exclude all the other narratives again. I mean, this is a game changer to the truth community, the AI, and it's a game changer for all this education because it'll do all your work for you. And you just have to look out for when it does whatever that hallucinates, when it lies, just makes things up. And, putting in something to make it look like you actually wrote the paper or did the work. And everyone knows it. Like these colleges, and kids are realizing that college is useless. I mean, these kids are going to college right now are completely fucked. And kids who go to college for, in terms of some sort of computer tech stuff, it's just a waste of time because by the time they graduate, all the shit they learn is outdated. I mean, that's been going on for a while. And so, it's going to change everything to do with education because kids are going to just no longer need to think because ChatGPT will do the processing, do the math. You can do anything with it, right? ChatGPT, tell me how much I should tip the waiter or waitress or whatever. Like, they can calculate it. Everything's just right there. You're carrying around a device that can tell you the answer. And people are going to not develop their, you have to learn to do things in terms of your education. You have to exercise your mind and your capacity. I mean, that's what education is good for. It's not really good for much else because a lot of it's bullshit and whatever. But it trains your brain and it increases your capacity to use it. And, and research and be able to figure things out. Now that's all going to be done for people. It's going to happen quickly. Like a lot of these schools look at what Trump's trying to do to Harvard and all these things. And these colleges, all of a sudden, there's no longer a need for it, right? These kids aren't growing up the same way as sports fans and things, the college football, things like that. You see that with, they're just all, there's a growing gamer athlete, they're considered athletes, right? Computer athletes. And so, the world has been changing significantly since the internet and since cell phones. I mean, those things have changed everything, the way that people do things. And it's limited people's abilities. And idiocracy, of course, sets in. And now it's affecting education. And it's clear that this is the case. That all these kids, when it's like athletes that were using steroids. You remember the steroid era in biking with Lance Armstrong and the steroid era in baseball and NFL. You couldn't compete against guys using steroids. They were just bigger, faster, stronger. They were going to, be fucked up. Steroids fucked you up. But, during that period of time, they were bigger, faster, stronger. You couldn't win against them, so you had to cheat. If somebody cheats, you have to cheat along with them or you're going to lose. Like it's hard to win. You have to be so much better to win when people are cheating, right? And that's just usually not the case. In some cases, there's just so many people, the cheating is just the path to victory. And so people who are using AI as opposed to people who aren't are going to have an advantage across the board. And these jobs that are going to disappear, and not just because of AI, because of all of it. These kids are going to school and getting indebted. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, the price of school, and they're losing out because they want younger people. They're going to want younger minds, fresher minds to do jobs that, if you've been in college for 4 years, you're going to be competing against people who are just jump into the industry. I'm talking about tech and things like that, who are already, being trained by the job itself as opposed to some bullshit college thing, right? And so you're going to have a mass amount of kids that just refuse to go to college. They're also very passive. But you can see the landscape because they're just figuring out what AI can do. And, the big threat was always AI is going to realize people suck and turn on them. But like I said, AI as your friend is much worse. Like it's, going to do everything for you and you're going to turn to a pathetic ball of mush. And everything that your capacity to think, your capacity to do for yourself, your capacity to, in any shape, sphere, shape, or form, you'll be lesser then. And so it's changing the landscape. I mean, with all the other things that are going down in the world, like so, it's like which thing's going to kill you? It's like there's all these things that are, there's like you got a glass full of poison. You're about to take a sip. There's a knife in the air, flying towards you. Like you're sitting at an outdoor table. Somebody's dropped a piano from or an air conditioner or something from their unit. It's heading down towards your head. There's an alligator. There's all these various things like heading for you all at once, and you're just like, which thing's going to hit first, right? In terms of humanity, it's like all these various and just the changes that it's going to incur. Like what are people going to be like when AI becomes so widely used and it's developing at a higher capacity? I saw this kind of shitty movie last night called Mountain something. I'll look it up in a second. And it was for a guy. Steve Carell was in it. He's so annoying. And that guy, Jason, whatever his name is, Silverberg or something like that. It's not that. And they're three billionaires and a guy worth 500 million, and they're longtime tech buddies. And one guy has a social media platform, and he releases an update, and it includes AI stuff, and the AI is taking over the world. Like people are thinking AI videos are real, and there's chaos all over the world because the AI videos are causing, people to react, and like all these people are getting killed, and there's videos out there saying that people are snitches when they're not, and the drug cartel is killing them, and there's just all this stuff, and people don't know the difference between what's real and not. And one of the guy is an AI guy. It's supposed to be like a comedy. Jason Schwartzman, and the other two actors I've never seen before. And there's an AI guy, and he has he's released this, like a really high tech AI, and the other guy wants it from him, and he won't give it because they're just all kind of dicks, and they're plotting the overthrow of governments and all these things while they're up there. And Steve Carell has just been told he only has about 10 years to live, and he gets a promise from the guy with the social media platform that if he gets the other guy's AI, that he can transhumanism. And so Steve Carell is psyched because he wants his consciousness uploaded. He's like shitting. He's scared of dying, and he's kind of a mess about it, but they don't know he's dying. The movie's called Mountainhead. I mean, they're really obnoxious. They go up to the mountain, and Jason Schwartzman who's the guy they're at his house, and he's only worth 500 million, and he writes in lipstick on each of their chests how much they're worth. And so the guy with AI surpasses Steve Carell, who was second. He's kind of the older guy, the mentor of all these other guys, and two of them pass him by. The AI guy passes him by, and Steve Carell's like pissed about it. And then the AI guy comes up and says that the guy with the social media platform's falling apart, and he's not going to give him the AI, and they should do a hostile takeover, and he's going to sell the AI to the government. And Steve Carell goes, the other three guys go, we have to kill this dude. And they try to kill him, and they're negotiating. It's kind of the characters are so annoying, but I'm sure it's accurate to the way they talk. And like when they're figuring out whether they're going to kill him, they're going through it analytically, like all these, should we run a simulation on it? Should we, all these things. They're trying to figure out the merits and how they're going to get away with all this stuff. It's just, it's a little bit funny, but it's just mostly disturbing. And when they come into the guy's house, the AI guy says to the Jason Schwartzman, if you're going to build a pedophile layer, like this is, kind of a Jeffrey Epstein reference, then, the whole thing. So it has a lot of the stuff in it. It's pretty disturbing, right? But I was interested in it because of the AI factor, right? How much that is playing a role in the destruction in this movie. The movie's fairly recent. I think it was out in 2024, maybe 2025. So it's out earlier this year. It's already on DirecTV, But it was, I mean, it had merit. Like it's The whole the way it's the interactions between the people and the lingo that they use and the their thinking process and all of it and how underdeveloped they are, how immature they are. Like this guy whose platform is just killing people, and the people are just dying because of the social media platform, and how like flippant they are about it, and like they disregard for human life and the rest of it. Then just petty and like all this stuff. But the AI factor is a part of it all. The Amish. It's not that they're anti-technology. It's just that they don't like anything that divides the family. And you see these people who are, you know, um, we go to these people and get milk from them. They're like German Baptists or something. They wear hats and head coverings. There's these traditional people still trying to live the way their ancestors did, but they're obviously influenced by Rumspringer. They're influenced by the what's going on around them. And when a new technology comes out, they would have these elders observe it, and they would have people use it in the family and these things. And it's clear that most of the technology that they looked at for 100 years divides the family, right? It keeps people separate, and certainly now with the internet and all these things, you're having a family dinner and everybody's on a device and all these things. But AI is just next level. It's clear, like just from my limited usage of it, and it's changes in the way that we live our lives. I mean, think about the internet, like how kids are now spend so much time on screens, either video games or just all of it, and how much everybody does. Like it's just a whole thing that AI is going to take that to another level, and it's going in the wrong direction. Like people are getting less than, and technology is doing more and more for them, and so we can't even calculate all the effects. But in 5 years, the world will be completely different. Remember, they said in the World Economic Forum, by 2030, you will own nothing and like it. And so, what's going to happen between those two times? And so, there's all this stuff brewing. Let's get back to the report here.
As he explained, most assignments in college are not relevant, but he adds they're hackable by AI. In fact, Lee launched an AI tool that helps students cheat their way through a job interview. Columbia put him on disciplinary probation. Lee notes that Columbia has partnered with OpenAI, which created ChatGPT, so why punish him? He predicts that it won't be long before using AI for homework won't be considered cheating. And if AI can do all the work, then why even go to class? A recent Harvard Crimson article by Sandhya Kumar, class of 2026, looks at the issue of students playing hooky, noting that Harvard has recognized there's a problem and now requires a certain level of attendance. Wrong answer, says Kumar. She says she pulls out her iPad or laptop to work on other assignments when the lecturer can't hold her attention. She recognizes missing class comes with a cost, but her analysis suggests it might be worth it. Check this out. Harvard's tuition, $56,550 a year. Quote, every class I miss costs around $117.81 plus the non-monetary cost of potential implications on my course grade. Who wants to waste $117 and forego a coveted A? The true cost of attending class isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in time, energy, and opportunity. Every once in a while, that $117.81 feels like a worthwhile trade-off for an extra hour to finish an assignment, prepare for an exam, or recover from an all-nighter. And so I skip class. Kumar adds that students skip out because they don't feel they're learning anything new. They can get what they need based on their own with class materials. So if
also just not what to do with AI. I mean, this has been going on with the internet for years. Plus, what the teacher is saying is so outdated. Like, depending on the professor, unless they're connected to everything else that's moving and shaking in the world, right? And certainly things like this, type of media that we have. So, like, it's just it's the fall of the official story, the official system, and the way of doing stuff. Like it's like some village-based culture with a lot of weird rituals and things that don't make sense, outdated things that people don't even remember why they started. and then just like a generation that rejects all that stuff because it's no longer applicable to their lives and what their future is. I mean, you see this big divide between, my generations, the generations of the, Generation X and Y and the Boomers, and then the Millennials, and then all these other generations after it because of their lifestyle, everything that they had as a human life is different and lesser than because it's now taking place in the internet. Most of their lives is on the internet, right? And so, I went to Jiffy Lube or something like it. I was pretty sure it was a Jiffy Lube before I had a cell phone. And I dropped my car off. You drive in, you sit in the waiting room, and there were 3 kids, and they all looked like the same age, and they were sitting kind of close to each other, and they all had cell phones out, and they were all chatting. They were all doing the thumb thing. Like this is, I don't know when it was, like 2000 something. Like 2005, 2003 or 5, it's early on. And it was early on the cell phone thing. And they were all, when smartphones were just coming out, like it was early iPhone, whatever that was. And they were all like typing away with their thumbs. And I'm like, I think they're together, but like they're not interacting at all. And then they just all got up and walked out together. And they just sat there and they were all doing things on their, chatting and doing shit. And, they were probably college-age kids, maybe, high school seniors or something. And I'm like, oh, this is it. It's over. This is going on all over the country. These kids are, like, sitting in the same room, and they're not connecting. And they're all, so. And that, of course, that's all played out. And now what is AI going to do, right? And so when they get rid of universities and all this kind of, you think about the college experiences, like the experience of college. So these kids don't even have that like now because they don't interact with their parents. But it was when you get away from your parents and then you're going off on your own and doing things, right? You're having a life away from your family. And you're now living as adults and you haven't been trained properly to do that. Like I didn't know how to, write checks. I didn't have any fucking basic skills. I didn't communicate with my parents, and then you're on your own, you're living your life, and you have these college experiences as a whole thing. And now that doesn't exist, right? And so, like it's like everything's changed, like everything's going to change. And it's not for the better, right? And people aren't getting better or stronger or, smarter or more healthy. I mean, they're all just, these kids growing up today, they're just depressed and weak and entitled and all of it, disconnected from physical life. And it's getting more, like it's just getting worse.
AI can do all the work, and class attendance is unnecessary, then why even invest the 4 years to get a degree? The White House seems to support this position in its own way. President Trump recently signed an executive order that states the government is no longer behind the one-size-fits-all approach to education, which previous administrations promoted as college for all. This new order is designed to modernize American workforce programs to prepare citizens for the high-paying skilled trade jobs of the future. And so we've come full circle now.
They're going to be done by robots. I mean, there's no answer but other mass depopulation. Because your work, like you have work, whatever your work is. And, unless you have some specialized skill, like you're an artist that you can do things that can't be replicated by, a 3D printer or whatever it is, right? You can grow, like as a farmer, you could grow, foods that would be for the elite type, wealthy people, things that would be, or just like things that healthy people want that have money to spend on it. But, there won't be any money because no one will have any jobs. I mean, it won't be the same thing. Like there just won't be enough work for people as you move into robots doing the physical work and AI doing the mental work. And so, you won't have the capacity to think. You'll just ask questions and your AI friend will fucking tell you the answer. And like that's happening right now. Like it's just, people aren't even doing Google searches the same way. They're not, they're not searching things. It's just how you word the question. And you can re-ask the question, and it's like you're having a conversation instead of having a very bland computer experience where you can ask the question in a different way to the AI, ask follow-up questions, and, it does all this stuff for you that you used to have to do for yourself. So, like, it's fucked, like, because of what it makes people into. It makes you into, like, useless eaters. This is what a term the elite, the controllers used to have for people. And there's going to be a lot more useless eaters that don't have a place in society.
With the Republican Trump White House sounding very much like the teachers' union leader, Randy Weingarten, education making for strange bedfellows. And then again, the president may have his own reasons for supporting this reform because in recent election cycles, education has become the single best predictor of political leanings. Consider that in the 2024 election, Republicans won 14 of the 15 least educated states. Democrats won 14 of the 15 most educated states. Of course, it wasn't that long ago when being a college graduate meant that everybody thought you had the world by the tail and they had advice for you.
I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics. Think about it.
But as we've seen with the rethink...
Okay, so we get it. It's over. Like, whatever we thought of life when, I grew up and, you went to school and college with this idea that you were going to get a better job. I never bought into it because I didn't get, I was different, but that's the way it was. Everyone went to school to get a better job, to get money. And so to have more success and have better options. And, I remember when I didn't have my college degree and I looked through the paper, which people don't do anymore, right, for potential jobs, the want ads. I mean, maybe it still exists. I don't know. Classifieds. I recognized that just based in what it said your requirements were to do certain jobs, that not having a college degree was limiting. Like once you had a college degree, all these jobs opened up to you, the possibility of getting them. And so, but that just won't exist. Everyone can see it. And so how long before people are like, well, why were you going to college? What exactly are you going to college for? And these colleges will fall apart without government assistance and money. And, they're going to have to reshape everything they're doing. Just like, the New York Times and these other, who reads physical newspapers anymore. And so the ones that were able to pivot to online, getting a lot of online activity, and then they have to rework their whole business model. And so, there's had to be these adjustments already. Everyone's leaving mainstream news, I mean, in terms of viewership. And so people aren't watching mainstream media anymore. I mean, more and more. And they want, authentic stuff from authentic people. And so, there's just all these revolutions going on, all these changes. And the changes are wide sweeping and substantial, like how people interact with each other. And that's going to change even now with the AI. It's already changed so much with cell phones and the internet. What people do for work, what do they do for their education, what shapes their worldview, where do they get their information from, who controls the information, what people do with their physical time and energy, what's their goal of life, right? What are their, what are the things that they want out of life? Do they want to get married? Do they want to have kids? These things. And so all those things have changed, like completely. And it's changing even more rapidly. I mean, it's accelerating, and not in a good way, because it's pulling people away from the divinity within them, right, the soul, and it's making them less than, and weaker and more pathetic. And so, that's, I think, fairly obvious to us, especially people who grew up, watching this change. People in my generation, people in their, 50s and 60s and 70s, those in this period of time. have seen, what it was like when we grew up, when computers were just becoming a thing when I was in high school. People maybe even their 40s. And then what their lifestyle was, and seeing what the lifestyle was before them, right? Especially when, I grew up, the hippie movement was happening and all that, and which came out of colleges and education and this revolution of consciousness and things. And, the way that changed for where you have now organic foods. When we grew up, there's chemicals in everything. Chemicals there, this is like fast food was becoming a big deal. McDonald's and these things putting chemicals in their milkshakes and, all these types of things. There's just DDT, which they outlawed because it was killing all the birds, especially birds of prey were on the brink of extinction. And they had this commercial, DDT is good for me. Some kind of, I forget what it did, right? It was like a pesticide or something. But everything was chemicals, and there was no sense of chemicals are bad for you and these things. And then there was this move for organic foods and, all these things that end up coming out of the hippie movement. A lot of these liberal things that are happening even now came out of that as the hippies became CEOs and inherited lots of money and had all this wealth and, prosperity. They become the powerful generation. And then they pushed all this agenda that you even see in like with the gender stuff and the trans stuff and all the stuff with the computer movement, Silicon Valley, and all these changes. And, people are suffering. Like a system's supposed to make people better, pull out the best of people, and it's pulling out the worst. And so what's that? Like, how's that play out? Well, the collapse of civilization. Like, that's the number one tell. And so this is where, we're on the brink of all these things. All right, let's move on to something else here. Okay, so this happened, 2 days ago.
Attacks on multiple air bases, including some thousands of miles inside Russia. It says Operation Spiderweb caused $7 billion in damage. A Ukrainian military source said multiple combat planes were destroyed in the attack. Russia has confirmed there was an attack, but is giving few details. CNN's Sebastian Shukla is following the developments for us. Sebastian, what are you learning about this attack?
Yeah, Fred, this is a really audacious attack which has been carried out by
It's audacious.
Ukraine's intelligence services known as the SBU, and it appears on Sunday they launched from multiple places inside Russia, the key here being inside Russia, attacks on Russian air bases housing strategic military aircraft, things that would go into the sky for surveillance and monitoring purposes and reconnaissance above the skies of Russia and over Ukraine to gather intelligence. What the Ukrainians are saying is that this has been a highly...
Look how fucking Ukraine's a big country. Like this is Europe, right? It's bigger than pretty much every other country in Europe. And look how fucking big Russia is, right? I mean, it's amazingly big. It's a massive, it's like Canada level cold, right? It's freezing.
Coordinated attack with swarms of drones attacking these Russian air bases all at the same time. And those videos that have been coming out on social media show the devastation and damage that has been wrought on these aircraft. Many of them on the tarmac there. There's one in particular. I don't know if we're able to show it. You can see a first-person view, from the drone.
Okay, so I was watching this on the news. I'm not going to go copy it from where I was watching it. But there's a woman who was saying that it was ingenious how they launched the attack. And really, this comes down to what was America's involvement. Because now it's $7 billion worth of damage to a lot of bomber planes and things like this, military aircraft. And they were able to get their drones deep inside of Russia and do a lot of damage. And I don't know if they can do it again. And I don't know what America has to do with that. I guess they have a lot of different drones there in the Ukraine. And so did Trump know about this? Did Trump give us a permission to do this? And, how does this affect, everything that's going on with their peace discussions and the rest of these things? Because they're going to meet Zelensky, Zelensky and Putin are meeting sometime soon. But again, this thing's escalating. And Trump is very fucking emotional and petty and stupid and impulsive. And, he doesn't listened to the plan that was going on here, even though it was a bad plan. I mean, the whole thing was a fucking, scam to launder money from America and the rest of these things. And it seems like Russia wants too much. I can understand them not wanting Ukraine to join NATO, but they want basically control over the Ukraine. So, in terms of what they're asking for, in terms of a ceasefire. And so,
New satellite images into Outfront showing the extent of the damage caused by a massive Ukrainian operation that took a year and a half to plan against air bases deep inside Russia. One Russian military blogger calling it Russia's Pearl Harbor. And the Ukrainian government says that the drone attacks damaged more than a third of Russia's strategic bombers. The operation caused more than $7 billion, and it did hit air bases across Russia. And one attack happened 2,800 miles from Ukraine's border. So let's just put that up on a map just to make this very clear. That is closer to Japan than it is to Kyiv. So you're talking about Tokyo, not Kyiv, just to think about what it would take to pull that off. Well, what did it take? The Ukrainian President Zelensky says 117 drones were used and that these drones were covertly smuggled into Russia inside mobile homes that were transported on trucks and then placed near the air bases.
Well, they won't be able to do that again. And how the fuck do they pull that off? I mean, Jesus Christ. There's going to be some beheadings in Russia. Like, people are going to pay with their lives because they were, I mean, it's not just that they smuggled them into Russia, but they got them close to the air bases.
A Trump administration official tells CNN, and this is really crucial, the United States was not given a heads up about the operation. That is stunning in and of itself.
Yeah, so that's a big news, which is good news, but it shows how much Trump is out of the loop. And Trump should just be like, fuck you guys are going to do shit like that. Because Trump would have probably said no. So if you guys are going to do something like that, we're cutting off all funding or you're done. Like so. And then, that is whatever it is for the future of the Ukraine. But, this is definitely, I mean, if the U.S. was involved, it would be World War III stuff. And it also depends on what Russia's response is going to be, right?
And as for Putin, it's a major embarrassment, to say the very least. And as Russian media analyst Julia Davis points out, there is utter disbelief and also shame tonight on Russian state television.
Yeah, of course there is. There's plenty of...
How did these trucks get through? Who has inspected them? How did you pass the inspection points? The weigh-ins? How did it happen?
Level of frustration and anger there expressed by now extremely familiar faces on Russian state television.
We don't know who they are, though.
Putin propaganda supporters. Out front now, Vladimir Milov, a former deputy minister of energy in Russia. Sir.
All right. So, I mean, big shit's happening every day. So this, I was hesitant to click on this video, but the title got me. How Ukraine's devastating surprise attack on Russia is a game changer for global military strategy.
Bear. It's a kind of plane, military aircraft, first designed in Russia in the 50s. It was built to compete with the American B-52 bomber. This Russian aircraft has a super long range. It can fly transcontinental flights before it has to stop and refuel. It can carry 8 long-range missiles. Russia has more than 100 of these big planes and other planes like it. At least they used to. Because this was...
He's pretty happy about it.
...was part of Russia's fleet of these planes as of yesterday. On fire. Destroyed in drone attacks that were launched by Ukraine. Now, in the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia has been hammering Ukraine.
Thanks for using your pencil.
With these bombers.
In the world in AI, a pencil still has a purpose.
And this weekend, surprise, Ukraine decided that rather than continuing just to try to intercept as many missiles that these planes have fired from the sky, as many missiles as they could, rather than just trying to defend itself that way, Ukraine decided instead that they would take out the planes themselves on the ground inside Russia. According to NBC News, Ukraine's security services smuggled more than 100 drones.
Okay, let's get to the thing here.
entire fleet of these large military bombers. Ukraine says they were able to destroy or severely damage about a third of them. Photo is from 2023, but you see they've got all the little tires stacked up on top of the plane? This was apparently Russia's idea of defense for their strategic aircraft. The whole thing is just astonishing, and not just in a foreign policy way, equipped to carry large-scale missiles. Those are the kinds of planes that...
So whatever, the idea that this is going to change military strategy, of course it is. Because also we have cyber attacks. And there are things that probably every country has designed to do that would be devastating if they can shut down infrastructure in your, like what happened with those refineries were hacked and there was enough gas on the east coast of America last couple of years ago, 3 years ago or whatever it was. And so the hacking and the drones are like a game changer. And I think there's a lot of things out there that both countries don't know the other countries have, and things are going to go south quickly when this escalates to World War III. Whatever, right? So we're forgetting about India and Pakistan. But right now there's major conflicts going on in multiple places in the world. And there's people are unsettled, and unsettled is a bad word. It's minimizing what's going on. Right? People are, things are falling apart, like chaos. Right? You have chaos.
The images out of Gaza this week have been stunning, as large crowds of Palestinians starving for food after an 11-week Israeli blockade on aid desperately scramble to grab what they can from the first truckloads that have been allowed to trickle in. It makes one wonder, what is life actually like in Gaza right now? Joining me now is Arwa Damon, who has visited the Strip four times since the war began just over 600 days ago. Damon is a former CNN correspondent who pivoted to humanitarian work and founded Inara, a charitable organization that provides medical and mental health services to children impacted by war. Arwa, welcome. So I'm trying to think of what's the best way for you to give us a sense of what life is like in Gaza. And since you work with children, how have they reacted to this unending war?
We've seen different kinds of ways that this sort of, deep, intense trauma manifests in a child. And I think the starkest and best way to describe it is when you meet and see children that have quite literally been shocked into silence. So children go nonverbal. They are unable to process what it is that they're seeing, and coupled with the reality.
You're talking about being catatonic.
That
Fetterman. I want to show the Fetterman thing next. That's what I wanted to lead with. I want to go to the second story, but
security blanket that a child would normally turn to their parents for protection, they know that doesn't exist. A child knows their parents cannot keep them safe, cannot feed them, cannot make their pain go away. And so you have these multiple traumas that are constantly hitting them all the time. And then add to that just the daily struggle of trying to stay alive.
So what does Gaza look like when you go in there? What are you seeing?
It feels as if you're sort of in the opening scenes of some sort of bizarre apocalyptic Hollywood zombie movie. But then you realize in the middle of all of this, utterly dystopian scenery, people are actually trying to live in and among the rubble. There's little children who aren't wearing shoes, who are lugging, gallons of water that are heavier than they are. There's this one horrible scene of a father who's trying to push, his son in a wheelchair, and he just completely collapses from exhaustion. You have the elderly that are trying to crawl along because they don't have any other means of transportation. And it is so hard to comprehend how people are actually surviving. And there's
the imagery that's coming out, and Trump's just such a piece of shit, right? Like, he's so owned by Israel, even after he feels like Netanyahu fucked him or is taking advantage of him. You know, there's closed down colleges and young people for protesting this fucking genocide, right? This land fucking grab. You know, I mean, just whatever. It's just right there. I mean, again, this could be all AI and fucking these two countries don't even exist as far as we know. But, you know, it's not, right? Like, we know what's going on here. It's land grab. This is one of the, you know, the most coveted land, the promised land from a religious standpoint. And it just shows you how fucked up religions are. And just all of it. Anyways, let's go to Fetterman here. Okay, so one of my viewers sent me a video of Fetterman sitting on a park bench. This isn't the video. And it's all on Instagram. I found a bunch of them on Instagram. So he's done this twice, and he's accosted by people. More than twice. There seems to be a bunch of times he's sitting on park benches. And people who are pro-Palestinian or anti Gaza's, you know, the Israelis' handling of Palestine and Gaza accost him, right? And he keeps on going back to park benches. But this one was my favorite. Then I'll show you the one that was sent to me yesterday. It's on Instagram, and you can't control the volume, so I can't. It sucks for me to do this kind of content with Instagram videos, but you know, TikTok or Twitter are better. Certainly YouTube.
I'm with Israel. You know that. I know it. So go talk to somebody else. Go talk to somebody else.
You're my representative.
Yeah.
And
No, you're not. You don't.
Let's go back to this. I got to the volume thing. First he says, I'm with Israel.
I'm with Israel. You know that. I know it. So go talk to somebody else.
I'm with Israel. Go talk to somebody else. This is the best part here.
Go talk to somebody else.
You're my representative.
Yeah.
And
No, you're not. You don't represent my view, and that's
Right.
okay.
So she says, you're my representative, which means I live in Pennsylvania, and you're my senator. So you're one of the two senators in Pennsylvania, and I'm Pennsylvanian, and you're my representative, so I'm complaining to you, which is my constitutional right to, you know, you're sitting out in fucking public like a dope, like on a bench with your fucking groove, George the Animal Steel, fucking lurch-looking, Uncle Fester-looking fucking black robe you got on there. And so, and he misunderstands what she's saying. He's like, no, you don't represent me. And he represents her, right? Which is what she's saying. But he doesn't get it because he doesn't have this auto processing. He can't, you know, have this conversation.
Somebody else. Go talk to somebody else.
You're my representative.
Yeah.
And
No, you're not. You don't represent my view, and that's
Right.
okay. We can disagree on
Right.
this. I'm with Israel, and I don't know why you.
I'm not
keep trying
against
to,
Israel.
that's
I'm
fine.
totally
and
not.
Again, but
I'm really not.
You harass my staff, and that's crazy.
No, they seem really fine. Like, truthfully.
It's like I said. So it's like it doesn't.
Are you
matter.
just gonna like filibuster the whole time because you haven't let me say a sentence?
Could we introduce ourselves?
You're talking to a guy who doesn't understand a word you're fucking saying. You said you're my representative, and he said you don't represent me. No, that's exactly what she said. She didn't, you know, he doesn't understand what the fuck's going on. And you're talking to this like this is so great. I mean, this is everything you need to know about the American government in its most primal form. You got a guy who's so fucking brain dead because of his depression and his fucking mental auto processing issues from his stroke and his, you know, being bought and sold by Israel and all the things that are going on here, and that he can't comprehend what you're saying, but he's going out there sitting there, and these people are going to come up to him because he's been the worst in terms of his support for Israel, and, you know, doesn't recognize that all these liberal people are appalled that he's worse than any Republican would be, even. Like, he's the worst guy in Israel because of his fucking his mental handy-capable stuff, you know, being handy-capable in the head, and his inability to process what they're saying, and just being Fetterman. And he's going to be there for another 4 years, right? There'll be a new president coming in when Fetterman's gone. So he has 4 more years. His chief of staff said the guy was catatonic and making figure 8 circles in the air when he's in the mental institution after he got sworn in as senator. this is the best fucking story ever, right? In terms of understanding how fucked we are.
You're trying to. It's like this is some kind of outrageous video or whatever. Like it's just.
Could we introduce ourselves,
different
Senator?
tactics. Get some different
My name's
tactics.
Terry Rumsey. I live in.
It's just what I'm saying.
I live in.
Again, you can be for Hamas or you can be for other issues. I'm with Israel. And
Okay, so there's no Hamas. There's a Palestinian people. It isn't like it's just Hamas versus Israel. Like, he has no idea what's going on here, right?
now you're clear. I'm clear. So just go. Oh, I know. Oh, dear.
No, I genuinely, like, we genuinely are not trying to cause a struggle here. Like, I really genuinely want to talk to you about this because we're not
Yes, I
anti-Israel.
understand.
We're not. We're
Yes,
pro-peace.
I understand. I understand.
And I bet you're pro-peace too. I genuinely bet you are. Like, nobody enjoys warfare and suffering and hostage situations. We
I'm
don't
for,
like any
I'm
of
for
it.
Israel. I'm concerned with the hostages.
It's amazing this woman is still trying to communicate with this fucking ape, right? This fucking handy-capable ape. Like, he can't process. I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're for peace, and I know that you're not for war. And I think there's common ground. And I'm for Israel, and I'm with hostages. Hostages Israel, Hamas, and hostages. Hostages Israel, Israel hostages. He can't understand what the fuck you're talking about, right? Like, this is the ultimate, and what I've learned doing this is your ability to change somebody's mind doesn't exist. You can't change shit about what people are thinking or what their point of view is. Let me play that meme from that comedian. You'll see Brian Regan. But before I do that, Fetterman's also a special case on top of it. But he's the epitome of this thing where you have a point of view and you're so right about your point of view, and you might be 100% right, but you can't convince your loved one or somebody else, and you're appealing to their humanity, and they're just fucking put up a wall between you. Now, Fetterman has literally got processing issues and can't have a conversation like this. But it's everything you need to know. It's pointless. Like, if you're expecting other people to change their minds, and if Fetterman changed his mind, what the fuck's going to happen? Like, that's the other part. If Fetterman came in and was totally pro-Gaza, it's not going to change a fucking thing. Trump is in charge of foreign policy. He ain't changing. And every other senator's bought and paid for by AIPAC and the Israeli lobby, and so no one's going to change shit. So the whole thing is pointless. You can sit back and watch what's happening in Gaza, and just pray or whatever. You do something other than what you're trying to do as a protester, because it doesn't fucking work. They're not going to change anything. Those protests in college, all that stuff, right? You could try to seize the government, and that I see how that goes, but even then. And so this is going to happen, just like a lot of shit's going to happen, and you have no control over it. Let's go to the other Fetterman thing here.
Hey, I saw something interesting today on social media. Somebody posted a very strong political opinion, and somebody replied, "Good point, I changed my mind." No, I'm sorry. I saw a unicorn. I saw a purple, glittery, flying unicorn.
So this is the most recent one. Different park bench. This is made out of wood, and the other one's made out of stone. Fetterman looks like he's lost some weight in a bad way. And let's just get to it here.
When is enough, Senator?
I don't know why you're harassing me.
That's not harassment. You're a senator, right?
I saw you coming, and I assumed you were going to come over.
I mean, you work for the people, right? You're supposed to...
He's a pathetic beat man. But why do you keep on going back to park benches? Why are you going out at all? This happens everywhere he goes. And, he's mocked people, laughed at him, and he's this guy who he doesn't get it. Like, he's not watching the same movie as everybody else. Like, he just can't interact. Like, he doesn't understand what is being said to him. He doesn't understand what's going on in Israel. Like, he's fucking clueless. I mean, this is a guy who should be in like a mental institution or something. He barely can function. Like, he couldn't do any other job. He'd be fired from every other job, the most menial tasks. He couldn't work at a Wawa. They're big out in Pennsylvania. I was Mr. Wawa for a little bit in college when I worked there, right? But, you know, and I was in Pennsylvania, but they have them everywhere now. He couldn't work anywhere. Like, there's no job he could do because he can't process shit. He's oblivious. And these people come up to him like he's, you know, like you can have a conversation with him and you can't. I saw you coming and I knew what was going to happen. I knew you were going to come talk to me. You know, like, I saw you coming. I know what's happening. You're going to talk to me. And I don't understand the shit you're saying.
You're in these halls for the people.
I'm just sitting here on a bench.
Right.
I'm just sitting here on a bench. I'm sitting on a bench. The bench is underneath me, and I'm here, and I'm sitting on it.
And my people are being slaughtered because of your votes and the money that you sent to Israel and your complicity in genocide. You have nothing to say about that? Over 100,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered.
Did you not hear my original statement? I'm sitting on a bench. I'm bench sitting right now. I'm a bench sitter. I'm sitting on a bench. Did you not hear what I originally said to you? What's wrong with you? You can't understand English? I clearly stated I'm sitting on a bench.
How do you sleep at night, Senator? Seriously, how do you sleep at night? Do you not see the videos and the just the children that are being slaughtered out there?
I don't have anything to say.
You don't have anything to say? Of course not.
I'm just sitting on a bench.
Because AIPAC pays you way too much money to say anything?
I don't have anything to say. I'm sitting on a bench. And then she delivered the AIPAC line, kaboom. I don't have anything to say. I'm just sitting on a bench. I'm bench sitting, saying nothing. Clearly, I'm not in the mood to say something when I am sitting on a bench. You want me to do two things? You want me to say something and sit on a bench? I'm not capable of that kind of multitasking. I can do one thing. I can sit on a bench or I can say something. I'm choosing to sit on a bench. You go away because I'm sitting on a bench.
To be a human being? Yeah. What a shame. What a shame. You do not deserve the position that you have at all. Shame on you for being complicit in genocide. Shame on you.
What do you mean? I don't deserve my position. I clearly am a good bench sitter. I'm great at sitting here doing nothing and not understanding shit. I mean, this is fucking wonderful. This is fucking wonderful. I mean, this shows you how inept our government is. This guy is clearly not capable of doing his job. His team has abandoned him. For the fact that they let him sit here on a bench alone, go out there because, you know, every time people see him, this is going to happen. There's Palestinian protesters all over D.C., and they're hunting this guy, right? And for him to go out and sit on these benches where, you know, the age of fucking social media and the cell phone video camera stuff that happens, right, where he's going to be subjected to this kind of fucking humiliation and incompetence, and they're just letting this happen, and he's going to be in this position, and this guy's going to be here another 4 years. And we already had reports about, I mean, his chief of staff, who was a respected Democratic politician, saying this guy's fucking fucked in the head and he shouldn't be doing his job. He's completely overwhelmed. He's obviously mentally incompetent. And he's going to be around 4 fucking more years and nobody can do anything about it, right? This guy should be expelled. I mean, he'd be fired from any other job. I'm sitting on a bench. I'm capable of sitting on a bench. Maybe I could feed some birds. I don't know if I can do that kind of multitasking, but I cannot field any questions right now because I am bench sitting.
Just got kicked out of church for saying fuck the devil. What the fuck? I thought we hated that motherfucker.
Okay, people on Instagram send me a lot of funny stuff. I don't get to all of it because I put the videos up, and it's like the last thing I was going to get to. The Instagram videos, many of them are funny. And then they disappear or whatever happens. Like they get taken down or something. But here is somebody's AI. He's got a Lana Del Rey. The music is great. Like, you got to really listen to the music to really appreciate the video. But he's got this pink shirt. He's got this Lana Del Rey thing. And he's, you know, he's fucking wearing pink fucking hot pants. And I mean, AI is really, like, look at this. You know, this is where AI is taking over the internet. There they are. On this Tesla motorcycle. Do they have Tesla motorcycles? Is that a real thing? There he goes. It's got a pentagram in the background. Inverted. All right, so that was that. Okay, I'm not going to play the audio for this because it's just better for me. But this guy's talking to the guy filming who their car just got rear-ended. His car did. The guy filming's a passenger. And this guy who rear-ended him just takes his car in the middle of a fucking busy-ass road here and starts pushing. His friend's telling him, leave him alone, he's fucking crazy. He's like, no, I got to get his insurance information. He literally says, I got to get insurance information. And then the guy's like, no, like he's fucking crazy, leave him alone. And the guy takes his car, so he's pushing it all the way across here, gets it over this fucking, this cement curb, medium, and he just sends it off into the bushes, and he just jets. Clearly, he doesn't have any insurance. That's hilarious. Okay, I got a lot to do today. I've been bush hogging fucking Canadian nettle. Not nettle, what I'm talking about. Canadian thistle. But anyways, and other things. That's nice outside. I got to do the Tuesday individual sitting for the Gratefullness meditation channel. Every Tuesday we do a meditation there. Or I do, and people watch it and do it. But I wanted to say one thing, and I hope I remember to say this again, like at the beginning of a video, right? But it's just, there is the aspect of chaos, the year of chaos, right? But then there's the way that chaos affects you. It's like everything's coming at you too quickly and nothing's sticking, right? Like Fetterman's not going to be fired. They're not going to, the images coming out of Gaza should mean some kind of change happens. Yeah, that's what used to happen. Israel would be shamed and sanctioned, and worlds would stand up and say, fuck you guys, stop doing this shit, right? Like those videos are going out throughout Europe, and, they're going out to the world, various places. And, this Fetterman thing, this would be enough to say, this guy's an embarrassment. The Democratic Party would pressure this guy the fuck out of there. Like he's a fucking mess over there, right? And just all these things that Trump's doing, and none of it's sticking, and there's no immediate consequences for it. It's like, we're in the tornado in The Wizard of Oz, and you just don't know where you're going to land. It's just a mess, like everywhere. Like things, it's just like anything fucking goes, right? It's like Toontown. And how that affects you as a person. The complete overwhelm of the year of the chaos, right? Like this woman was saying about these kids in Gaza. Kids, I was saying this to my wife, they deal with these things a lot better than adults because their brain is changing. And how you purge memories and forget memories, and you become 7 or 8 years old and your brain does all this pruning, and it gets rid of a lot of the 70%, like 30% of your brain just disappears and then, regrows into something else, right? It's developing. And so you lose a lot of memory. It prunes a lot of your, the parts that were, that's why you don't have memories when you're kids. And kids are more flexible and they can deal with change and adapt. But the level of adaptation that's going to need to happen now with AI and all these things, like it's everywhere. Like there's fucking massive change coming. There's a massive paradigm shift. And very few people will be able to just accept the change, never mind all the fucking things it means to your lifestyle. Or it's just like you're going to live in a different world. You're going to wake up and it's like you've been transported into the fucking future, and the future sucks. And so, that's what's happening like right now, and the chaos and all the rest of it. And so, let me hopefully I'll remember to talk about that more extensively in a future video. But let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.